Good afternoon, LSMS members. This is Mariah Bowen again, Vice President of Governmental Affairs, and I'm here today with Representative Bob Owen from over in the Slidell area. He represents House District 76, and he has joined us today to give you a little perspective on what it's like to be a first-term legislator, as well as to look forward at what he might be carrying for next year's legislative session. Representative Owen, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you just take a little time to introduce yourself to our members?
All right, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here, and just a little background on myself. I grew up in the Slidell area, but I have family all over the state. I was actually born in Opelousas. Myself personally, my business background, I'm actually working medicine. My family actually comes from 5 generations of physicians. My brother is luckily he took on that role of keeping the tradition going. So, but it goes all the way back to my great grandfather, and he was actually the Surgeon General of Louisiana back right after Reconstruction. I tried to stay out of the medical business, but it just sucked me back in. So I ended up getting back into it about 15 years ago. And we actually have 2 businesses. We have a product business. We make a product, people with diabetes. It's a medical food product. So that's actually how I got back into the business again. It's, we did all the clinical trials years ago and everything, went through that whole FDA process and everything. I got that up and running. And that's we sell that regionally throughout the Southeast. And then after that, then we actually got into the clinic business. We do a lot of corporate medicine. We actually have a whole bunch of different clinics here. We do psych, we do, just basic urgent care, and then general practice. We have addiction treatment. We do, diabetic care. We have a whole separate nutrition department that we do. We basically been doing that for the past few years, but we do work with we were actually on the Gulf Coast. So we work with a lot of casinos over here. So we do a lot of their contracts, for various, corporate things as well. So that's kind of how I got into the business. It's just kind of been evolving, from there. I know a lot about the day-to-day of medicine. Brian and I were talking earlier before we got on the call today about prior authorizations. That's something that I'm definitely going to be bringing up some legislation in the future. We couldn't put it together for this session, unfortunately, but it is definitely something that I'm going to bring up probably next year, because it is. It's just a bane on my existence and my employees. We spend hours every day, doing PAs and pre-certifications for different things. Drives me up the wall. I'm sure it does for your members as well. I know it does, in fact. And so, that's something we're definitely going to address. We have, several different things that, I'm looking to do, just because I'm in the business. There's some things that I want to really look at down the road. But PAs were one of the ones that I really wanted to address, probably, more immediately than the others. But
I have some people cheering in the background right now.
So,
we look forward to helping you when you get to that.
So, but outside of that, I've been living in Slidell for most of my life. Graduated from LSU, and actually, I did a little bit of lobbying right out of LSU. Did that for about 6 years, and then got into the medical business. So I kind of went. So I have a little bit of background in politics, a little bit of background, and then more background in the business of medicine. So that's kind of been where I came from and where I'm at now. So it's been a great session. We had it's been a great year. We had 3 sessions actually. And, we were talking also earlier, it's an unusual year. With COVID, COVID really has kind of changed everything. Being a lobbyist before, I kind of know how the sessions run. And this was completely different than anything that I had imagined. I tell my colleagues all the time, I'm like, just understand that this is not how things normally work. But we were also saying earlier too, it was really kind of nice because we had there wasn't all the commotion that normally goes on during your regular sessions. We actually had a lot of camaraderie because we had really nobody else to talk to. So we ended up getting to know each other very well. And it's, I think that's going to be good in the long run for us, just in terms of being able to kind of cross over to the other side, talk to the other side and be able to negotiate and get votes where we might not have been able to in the past. So
It
I
was
think
very
that's actually,
refreshing to see. It really was refreshing to see how y'all kind of came together to handle a very extreme situation that was just sort of dropped in your laps right at the beginning of your first term.
yeah,
And I know
I picked a,
it was,
a hell of a year to become a politician.
you did, really did. And trying to explain to so many people the fact that there was no access. So just to testify before a piece of legislation, I was trying to channel some of my members, and hear what they had to say and then bring it to y'all. And I think next year this year now, hopefully at least everyone gets to experience what it looks like, even if it's just for a part of the session.
Right, right. And it was, it was just so unusual. I mean, even just testifying. I mean, there was, people spread out all over, and you had to, they were squirting people in the face with sanitizer half the time, and it's
Happened to me more than once.
it's just, it was bizarre, but we got through it, and we actually ended up passing some good legislation. We got some tort reform done, and we got some some good tax reform there. So we actually did get a pretty good bit done. It's unfortunate that COVID kind of covered up a lot of that, and we really didn't get to see that in the press and everything else because of all the stuff with COVID. But we actually did get some meaningful legislation accomplished, despite COVID. So
Right.
Hopefully once COVID passes, we can get through this, and hopefully the budget issues won't be too horrible and won't tie us down. But if we can get past all that, then we'll hopefully get some meaningful legislation done that'll actually build on what we did this year and move us even more forward. So that's the goal. And if we can get that done, we'll certainly be one step closer to fixing the state.
Well, we talked a little bit. We're about 2.5 months out, I guess, now from starting this year's fiscal only session. So you have 5 pieces of legislation, and I think 3 of them right now are sort of dedicated to medical issues. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those bills that you plan to file?
Yeah. So first one is called the Cures Act, and this is an interesting one. This came out of the blue. The Speaker of the House from Ohio came down, met with me, and it's a multi-state piece of legislation. It's already done in Ohio, Florida, I think Georgia is the other one, and I want to say there's 1 or 2 other states that either implemented this or are starting to implement this. But essentially, the problem with most drug companies is they look for treatments for diseases, and that's across the board, because more or less, they're not looking for a cure for something, because cures don't really make money. If a treatment, you're looking at good income for many years if you find a treatment for something, but a cure is it's kind of a one and done kind of deal, and so that's why you don't see a whole lot of cures coming out. I mean, the latest one we had was with Hep C, which was pretty amazing. I mean, that was incredible, and it's I mean, honestly, it's one of the in my lifetime, it's probably one of the biggest advancements that we've seen in terms of a cure, for anything. So that's kind of where this came from. And so what it is they basically incentivize your state incentivizes the banks through a bond, essentially, to look to fund certain universities or research programs to look for cures. So the bank's incentive essentially to fund these things is that if your research organization or whatever finds a cure for something, whatever disease you're looking for, then the reward is that they can sell that particular cure to other states or other countries or whoever they want to, for whatever cost they deem is their profit margin. The benefit to the state that helps bond it out would be that they get that drug at cost, and it's a very minimal cost to us. We don't really, it's more or less you just essentially, helping you giving a bond to the bank, you get that money back, eventually at some point. So it's not like you're really giving up a whole lot of money to fund these things. And then, you might theoretically have a cure for something, so it's, which would be, beneficial to everybody. So it's a really neat idea. I'm really interested in it. I'm going to be interested to see if there's any pushback on it, but we'll take a look and see, if we can get it going. The other one is we're going to create, I'm working with the National Kidney Association. We're going to create a kidney board for Louisiana to just study kidney disease and prevention in the state. And so, Louisiana has one of the highest incidents of kidney disease in the country. And, because basically we have a lot of diabetes and so, and hypertension. So, it's something to look at. It's worth having, people down here, from a national level, putting money into the state and trying to at least, from at the very least and minimally, just, bringing awareness to the people of Louisiana. So yeah, I think that can get done, and I think it might be beneficial. So it's something that definitely people from the association. I'd love to have a few people from the association on the board for sure. And then the other is it's a bill that I brought up last year. Had a couple little problems that I think we're going to fix. It's the right to shop bill, and essentially it's that if for radiology and labs, if you go to a radiology center or lab center, that it's real simple. It's just that you can know what your cost, essentially when you walk in, what your cost is with insurance before you have the procedure done. And most labs, most radiology centers know what their bottom line is, what their fees are, and everything else ahead of time. It's it's pretty basic with most of the companies, unless they have an unusual insurance. Most of your big insurance companies, they pretty much know what they're going to pay right ahead of time. We didn't have a whole lot of pushback, except for some physicians' offices that do radiology inside their clinic, which that was not the intention of the bill. But we just need to make sure that we write that into the bill so that we don't have unintended consequences of that occurring. So those are my three medical bills that I have coming up, and that's kind of where we're going for this next session. So I have a couple of local bills that are related to Slidell, but they, it's nothing major. So
that's great information, and we appreciate you taking the time to share it with us. What about your district? What are you seeing in your district that may be of interest?
Well, we're actually doing pretty well in our area. I mean, our sales tax revenues are actually higher than they were last year, which is pretty amazing. But a lot of people bought boats and jet skis and RVs and all these other things. So it actually helped boost up our economy. Our big issue that we're having down here is tourism. Tourism is we have almost 1 million people come through Slidell doing swamp tours every year. So people don't realize how many people actually come through our area. So our tourism industry has taken a huge hit. So that's been kind of devastating to us, because we're less than 30 minutes away from New Orleans.
Right.
So so it's really it's been a pretty big hit for us. But we're getting the vaccines rolled out now. They're finally getting to the pharmacies. There's been some problems with the state insurance plan covering the pharmacies, the vaccine to the pharmacies. So we're trying to get that fixed right now. But that should be resolved by this week, and then that way everybody in the state will be covered. For the vaccine under the state plans, Medicare, Medicaid, and then all your state employees as well. So that's been the biggest thing. The only issue with that we're having with vaccines in terms of locally is just it's being held up at the state level. They don't want to give too much out, and not enough people or they don't want to waste it, essentially, is what the issue is. So
well, I know we've had multiple conversations with them, because we have some physicians and their office staff in rural areas that have not been able to get access, and it's not really it's more of a supply issue with the vaccines than an intent issue. So I will say they've had good conversations with us and worked to help it. I just think this whole thing was way beyond anyone's thought process to begin with.
Well, they don't give Nobel Prizes for logistics. So that's the problem. So, but yeah, I mean, I do, like, I got my second shot yesterday, but I still have one employee that has not been able to sign it. They missed the window before the 1B rollout, and they haven't been able to sign up since then. And so it's been a mess. So
have you had any vaccine related issues?
So, oh, me? No, I've been fine. I didn't have anything. I had a little soreness and I was a little tired after the first one, but the second one, I had nothing at all. I mean, it was my arm was a little tiny bit sore, but that's about it.
Most people have been telling me that it's a lot like getting your flu shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy. It it takes 2 seconds, and I have had some nurses that work with us sometimes. They said on the second round they've had some flu-like symptoms and things along those lines, but they said it lasted about a day and then that was it. So
that's good news. Hopefully that gives some people some comfort.
Yeah. Well, I was happy to get my second one, that's for sure.
I know. I think I'm ready to have mine, just because I feel like at that point I'm really going to start to think things maybe getting back to normal.
Right. Well, hopefully we'll get this rollout, done as soon as possible, and we can start getting back to normal again. I want to say, by June, I'm thinking that we will probably have most of them out, but that's that's probably wishful thinking.
Your mouth to God's ears, right?
We'll see how the rollout goes. So.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you doing this for us and stopping to inform our members.
Thank you, Mariah. I really appreciate it. And thanks everybody out there who's listening. If you ever need anything, feel free to contact me. You can always reach me through the legislative website.
Thank you.
Thank you.